Scary.
Brilliant, thank you. Thanks for the introduction. It's great to see so many of you here today. My name is Jack Harris. I'm the Operations Manager for the east of the region for the Duke of Edinburgh's Award. I'm joined here today by Georgie. So I think, Georgie, if I just hand over to you to introduce yourself first, and then I'll crack on if that's all right.
Hi everyone, my name's Georgie. I'm the Operations Officer for Norfolk, looking after mainly South Norfolk all the way up to the coast. So it's just lovely to be able to have the opportunity to chat to all of you today. Some of the organisations that you're representing is really, really interesting. It's nice to hear that we've got such a variation of organisations who are, keen to listen to DofE really. I just was about to type in the chat box that I will be monitoring it whilst Jack's talking. So if any questions come to mind, anything you'd like to ask, feel free to pop it in the chat box.
Brilliant, thank you, Georgie. So I'm just going to share my screen with everyone now and just share our presentation. Georgie, can you see the presentation you're in? Brilliant. Okay. So today, really, we're going to talk a little bit about the Duke of Edinburgh's Award. I'm going to really talk in kind of three parts as we go through. So, for example, many organisations that are here today are obviously here to find out a little bit about what DofE is and how it could fit in with youth and community organisations. We really feel that the Duke of Edinburgh Award is for all young people, and we're really focusing on taking it to young people that need it the most. But it can fit into your organisations in a variety of different ways. So for some organisations that are sat here today, they would be best fit to be a licensed organisation where they can offer the whole Duke of Edinburgh Award to their young people. And that option gives all young people access to the award. And I'll talk about everything that's involved with that, the cost, the logistics, all of the stuff, so you've got an understanding. For some people here today, that might not be a suitable option for them. It might not be an option at all. But actually, some of the activities that you are doing, young people that are accessing DofE through another licensed organisation, for example, their school, might be able to do a particular section with you, whether that's the volunteering section or whether that's the skills section. I know from what some of you have said already today, that might be the type of thing you're looking for. Or it might be there's another way that you can get involved, or there's another project that you're working on that actually we could partner with and work with you, really. So hopefully there's something in this for everyone. And I'm hoping to try and get through all of those different points as we go through today. So in terms of the session, the key bits I'm going to be going through is an overview of what the award is, why it's beneficial to young people, and what's involved essentially. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what's involved in terms of becoming a licensed organisation. So a licensed organisation is an organisation that is licensed to deliver DofE to their young people, and young people can access that programme through that organisation, but might complete some other sections in different places. I'm really pleased to have Steve Milford here with us today from one of our licensed organisations over in Peterborough, Boxing Futures, a community grassroots organisation working with young people, and are now just taken on DofE. But Steve has been working with community groups in DofE for some time in different places across Peterborough. And also in terms of next steps and licensing processes, if anyone is interested in taking things further. You will also hear from Georgie, who's the Operations Officer for Norfolk, a little bit about what her role is and how she can support you and work with you across Norfolk. And there will be an opportunity for any questions that you might have today as well. So I'm going to start with a video. I do hope we don't have any technical issues and you can hear it. But this is just a little bit about what DofE is trying to do and trying to achieve at the moment.
Before the award, I was bullied for having learning disabilities. I was also bullied for the colour of my skin.
When I was 18, I was in prison. I came across the Duke of Edinburgh's Awards and I jumped at the opportunity. I didn't realise at the time how big an impact it would have on my life.
I'm absolutely delighted to be launching DofE's new strategy, Youth Without Limits. Every year, hundreds of thousands of young people embark on their DofE journey, exploring who they are, developing their confidence and their independence, and building the vital skills that they will need to successfully navigate adult life. As we emerge from the COVID pandemic, young people are facing an almost perfect storm of challenges, and I'm delighted that what DofE's strategy does is place DofE right at the heart of the national effort to back young people and help them recover stronger and more resilient from these difficult times.
It really is going to recognise the amazing things that young people are doing in communities and in their free time, and encourage and support others to get involved.
I think it's more important than ever that young people from marginalised backgrounds take part in the award, but actually, more important than that they realise they can take part.
The DofE changed and impacted my life in the fact that it made me a lot more comfortable with my disability. Before doing my Duke of Edinburgh, I hated my wheelchair, I didn't like to use it, and now it's my whole life.
I completed an MVQ in cookery. I am now a successful chef.
Without the award, I don't think I would have the proof of determination and hard work can get you the success you want in life. It doesn't matter about your social standing or what the world says about you.
I think this new strategy is going to ensure that we can reach as many communities and as many young people from all sorts of diverse backgrounds as possible.
It would be wonderful if every young person had the chance to do their DofE.
It transcends ethnicity, it transcends culture, it transcends ability, it transcends everything.
It changes you and it stays with you for life.
Young people should get the chance to do Duke of Edinburgh for so many reasons.
Every single piece of the award is a tiny building block in a young person's journey.
The DofE offers you chances to do things that you didn't even know you could do.
It gives you skills that you can't really learn anywhere else in life, and it honestly did change my life.
I can achieve anything that I want to. There's 1,000 young people like me who come from the same backgrounds. The only difference is that I got an opportunity to show what I can achieve.
Taking part in the DofE not only changed my life, but it saved it.
Over the next 5 years, it's our ambition to make DofE even more accessible and relevant, so more than 1 million young people can have access to one of DofE's life-changing programmes. I wanted to say an enormous thank you to all of our leaders, adult volunteers, supporters, donors, and of course young people themselves for everything they have done to pull together this strategy. We cannot deliver it or achieve it without you, and we couldn't have developed it without you. So a massive thank you to everybody for all that you have done to help us get to this point. I'm really looking forward to working with you to deliver on our ambitions.
So that's a little bit about the DofE's strategy at the moment, some of the focal points. And the reason we share that with you today is, I think, part of the reason we're here and we're trying to work with grassroots community groups and engage in partnership across Norfolk is because we've done incredibly well working with schools across Norfolk, and Georgie's done a fantastic job at building those relationships and increasing the access to DofE across a number of years. However, where we are now is a stage where we can excel on that work and take that even a step further, because what we realise and understand is that actually we really want to take DofE to those young people that may need it the most, or may not be in a position to have that access via their school or want to do that via school. And we know a lot of community-based organisations where young people feel really supported, maybe with young people that are in similar positions to them, and they trust the adult leaders there, and actually they're really good places for them to do it and engage with. And whilst a lot of schools across Norfolk do offer the DofE award, actually we know that there is still barriers for young people wanting to take that step and accessing it. And actually by doing it in a place that they're comfortable and with those fantastic community-based organisations is a really good place for us to work. So we're really keen to start to develop some partnership, whether that is with full licensed organisations or other work. We're really keen to do that, which is one of our focal points over the next few years. And certainly Georgie's based in Norfolk, and my role's across the whole of the East, but I'm from Norfolk myself and went to school in Norfolk. I'm really passionate about actually working with those grassroots community organisations. Outside of work, I'm a trustee with a youth organisation in Norfolk, and I do appreciate the challenges and some of those things there, but I also see the fantastic opportunity for young people really to get involved in DofE through some of those organisations. So that's a little bit about what we're trying to achieve at the moment. I'm now going to talk a little bit about what the DofE actually is. And this is the part that really, there's a number of different options from here really, which could be beneficial and useful for you all to be aware of today. So essentially, the DofE is one of the world's leading youth achievement programs, and it's a program of activities for young people that young people take part in, which really helps them to develop a range of skills for work and life, but also it helps them promote positive physical and mental health. So there's lots of benefits for young people in terms of doing it, and the way that the program is that we'll go through in a moment is really broad and balanced. So there's a number of different components that they do to really push them in a number of different areas. I used to run DofE in a school. in Norfolk. And what I used to always find, from the moment a young person started to the moment they finished, their journey they went through, every young person went on a completely different journey. And that's the fantastic thing about DofE. It's really personalised to the individual. The programme is really personalised to their interest and what they want to do. So it really helps them and takes them, pushes them to where they want to be. So for young people, I think the most important thing about DofE is them actually having a lot of fun. It's a really enjoyable experience because they get to tailor it to what they like. Of course, it's challenging. Of course, because there's a number of different components, some bit they will really struggle with, but that's what gives them the commitment. That gives them the bit to take to there. That's what gives them the achievement. But there's so many benefits on there, and I think there's benefits for them doing it now, and certainly we've seen through the COVID-19 pandemic, that actually DofE has really given young people a structure to be able to complete and do activity that's benefited them for their life there and then, and given them that opportunity to really, focus on their physical health, their mental health, and just have fun and be a young person, essentially. And we know some young people have got some particular challenges in their home life, for example, and actually DofE gives them a bit of a way to do something a little bit different and focus in on that. But also as well, we find actually DofE, once they've achieved their award, they go on a journey, and essentially it can be really useful for their futures in terms of when they are applying for jobs, whether that be the fact that they've just got the DofE award, or whether it just be the fact that they've gone through some incredible experiences and are able to talk about that. So there's lots of benefits for those young people taking part in that now when they're doing the award, but also on the other side. And some of the work that we've done recently, a bit around sort of the theory of change in terms of how DofE really takes young people on that journey and actually how they benefit from all of that as well. So in terms of organisations, so if an organisation was to become a licensed organisation, they would deliver their whole award, and young people would be able to opt to do the award with them. But young people could, if you're not an organisation or affiliated with DofE anyway, if you do have a volunteering opportunity, for example, or you have a skill activity that young people can do, as long as they are linked to another licensed organisation, they can do that activity with you for that section. So if you do have opportunities that you think could fit into your organisation, but you don't feel that you want to become a licensed organisation, that's absolutely fine, and just contact Georgie or myself after today, and we can share with our other organisations what you've got on offer, because we work with, like I say, over 64 licensed organisations across Norfolk at the moment, and we're hoping to increase that massively, so we give more young people access to DofE. So we would give that information to them. So for example, if you've got a volunteering opportunity, we could advertise that out, and we're actually creating a volunteering hub soon. So we could put that on there and share that with those organisations. So there's lots of things we can do that way. But ultimately, if you were to become a licensed organisation, you would be able to give young people access to the award. And that's the bit that sometimes they don't want to do it with their school, or some schools don't offer it. Majority do in Norfolk, but I think the biggest issue sometimes is young people don't necessarily want to do it with those particular adults, or they might not be having a good experience in school and want to do that with individuals in similar circumstances to them sometimes. So with the DofE, it is really versatile, and I think that's the fantastic thing. So if you were to become a licensed organisation, it really can fit with your organisational structure. There's so many flexibilities within it, and the way that you structure it can really work for your organisation and the young people that you're working with, because we know young people, each young person is completely different and their circumstances are, so it really can be tailored to those individuals. And the operations officer that you would be linked with would be able to support and guide you with what that looks like. Now, up and down the country, we work with a range of organisations, including mainstream schools, SEND schools, pupil referral units, prisons. We work with grassroots community organisations. We work with other, including football clubs, family carer groups, youth groups, mental health organisations, a whole range of organisations. And the positive thing sometimes is actually we can link you up with that organisation, see how they do it and how they deliver it, and actually use those different models, but it can be really tailored. As you'll see when we talk through what the programme looks like, it really can be personalised to that young person. And I know sometimes young people have got so many other things going on in their lives. Actually, for some of the sections, they can already use activities they're already doing, if they're doing something, for example. So for example, if they are young carers, they can use some of that towards their volunteering section. There's lots of different things that they consider and can do. But the beautiful thing about DofE is that it's broad and balanced. So actually young people, they might be a really sporty young person, for example, but there's other activities that they have to do to really balance it out and give them be a well-rounded individual alongside their education. Or if they haven't, if that's an area they're struggling with, it can really help them stand out differently. So there's lots of different components as part of that. And it really can support and enhance other things that young people are doing. So what's involved? So with the DofE, there are 3 progressive levels. So bronze, silver and gold. So essentially, bronze they can do from year 9, so around the age of 14, but they can do slightly younger than that, so from the September they're in year 9, but I appreciate some organisations don't work in that terminology, so about 14. Silver is about 15 and gold is age 16. And to achieve a DofE award, young people need to complete a programme of activities in 4 sections. And there's 5 at gold, because at gold, we also have a residential. And those sections would look like volunteering, physical, skill, and an expedition. So to give you a little example of what a bronze programme looks like, they would do a volunteering, a physical, and skill. 2 sections for a period of 3 months and 1 section with a further 3 months. So essentially two sections for 3 months, 1 section for 6 months. And that 6-month section, they can choose which one they like, so it's personalised to what they're interested in. They can do activities they're already doing. And also as well, they don't have to do them all at the same time. So they could do one after the other. They can have a massive gap. And essentially, they have up to the age of 25 to complete it. Usually, we try and get them to complete it in a shorter period of time so they achieve it and can progress in those type of bits. But ultimately, they do have a long period of time to do it. And they don't have to be the minimum age to start. And with those different sections, I say an average of an hour a week, but things can be changed up to make it work for those individuals. And then at bronze, they would do an expedition. And that expedition traditionally would be some training, and then they would do a 2-day, 1-night expedition. Now, with the COVID-19 pandemic, certainly with organisations that are wanting to offer DofE this year, there is lots of modifications in place to really support, to make it really accessible. For example, expeditions in restricted spaces where you're doing team building activities on site. Lots of different things to consider. And with the expedition section, you don't have to run it yourself. So if you're thinking, oh, I don't think we could do that, you can outsource it to an approved activity provider to do that section if you're going to become a licensed organisation. But ultimately, if you're here today and you're thinking, well, actually, we're not going to become a licensed organisation, we've got a volunteering activity we can offer, pull together a leaflet to advertise it, send it over to Georgie, and we can share that with our organisations that would be appropriate for that. And you can see the time that it would take someone to do that, either 3 months or 6 months, depending on what they wanted to do, an average of an hour a week over a period of time to show that commitment. So it's the minimum of 3 months to show that commitment over a long period of time at bronze. So the volunteering section is all about giving back to the community. So we say for volunteering, they must respond to charities or community activities. It's all about doing good. So it's about finding activities, and they can do that with the organisation that is a licensed organisation or with any other organisation they would like. And they would do that for the period of time, and at the end they would need to get an assessment report from the adult that is doing that activity with them. And there's so many different activities young people can pick for volunteering. They could do community litter picks, they could do a fundraising campaign for a charity. The possibilities are endless, and it really is about just giving back to that local community. Young people really do like this section. It does make them feel proud of their achievements as they're doing this. We do find young people go on to do volunteering activities in the future as well. And I'm sure lots of your organisations that are here today may have volunteering activities that young people can give back into the community and support with. And I know someone mentioned earlier today that that's the kind of angle that they may be looking at for the DofE. And like I say, we do have hundreds of young people across the county already engaged with their DofE who could potentially be looking for activities for that section. The skills section is all about the physical, so that's about young people doing something for their health and fitness, and every young person's different. For one young person, they might be an athlete and really trying to do that, but for another young person, actually going on a short walk is the right thing for that young person, and they do something that's challenging for them. So it's about encouraging young people to do activity. And when they're doing each section, they're working towards a goal. And sometimes they could do this as part of an organised group or club, or they could just do it in their local community. So they could decide from their house to do a short run, an hour a week for 3 months, and actually working towards a goal that they want to achieve. So there's lots of different options in terms of what that can look like for young people. And then the third section is the skills section. And again, possibilities are really endless. And for some of these activities, young people really get inspired and think, right, I want to go into a career in this, or this is a bit of stuff I want to go do next. But for some young people, it really gives them important life skills as well. But also there's a lot of enjoyment. So it depends what they want to do with this. You know, we find a lot of young people do cooking from home, for example, for their skills. They love it. And I actually love it as a DofE manager when they used to bring the cakes to me to try. It was really quite nice. But there's lots of activities they can do. And also they can use things that they're already doing and activities that they're doing for that section as well. And then we have the expedition section, which we spoke about a little bit earlier, which for bronze is training and a 2-day, 1-night expedition. But you don't have to run it in-house, you can do. And lots of organisations like doing that because it's a fun opportunity and we can support you with how that looks. But ultimately, you can use an approved activity provider as well. So there's lots of different options and your operations officer would speak to you about what that would look like. And I think one of the biggest things at the moment, until the 31st of December 2022, there is a number of amendments, as you can see on the screen, at the moment to support young people in their DofE so they can access it during this challenging time and still get the benefits out of it. So there's a number of different options that young people can take at the moment in terms of groups that are doing DofE. So I'm going to just share with you a little bit about a clip of some young people that are doing a traditional expedition. A little bit of a flavour there of some young people doing their DofE activities. And I think as well, for some young people, that's the most enjoyable bit and the really bit they love doing, going out there with their friends and doing their expedition. So we've talked a little bit about what DofE is trying to achieve at the moment. We've talked a little bit about what DofE is and how you could potentially either become a licensed organisation to deliver the whole programme or offer particular opportunities for young people across Norfolk. So I'm going to hone in a little bit now on an overview of what's involved in becoming a licensed organisation, and it might be a particular project or something that your organisation would like to deliver to your young people in terms of what your aims of your organisation is and supporting some of the other fantastic activity you already do. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I think as some of you here today, you might be seeing already that actually some of the stuff you already do in your organisations can really slot into the structure of DofE without creating extra work or out extra stuff for young people, but ultimately getting them to achieve a Duke of Edinburgh's award that they get those benefits out of long term, essentially. So I'm going to give you an overview of what's involved. So for some organisations, this might not be what they're looking to do, but for some it might be, and just gives you a bit of a flavour of that. So if an organisation was looking to become a licensed organisation, we would license the organisation that essentially is responsible for that group. So we would have a licensed signatory. So this is usually the person at the top of that organisation, whether that's the project manager, the CEO, chair of trustees, dependent on the structure of your organisation. So we license organisations that are incorporated so that they've got a legal identity, a legal personality, essentially. So if you were looking to become a licence, we'd chat that with you to make sure you had the right structure in place for us to work with you in that way, or signpost you to other opportunities. So the licence signatory is essentially the person that undertakes the licence agreement with us and they sign the licence and work with us. And then in terms of roles within the organisation, we would have a volunteer who would be the DofE award verifier, who's the person right at the end of the journey, but also a quite important person. When a young person completes their award, this person signs off that award and issues their certificate and badge. And if you've got 6 young people going through a year, it will take them no more than an hour. And we find within community organisations, a lot of that is a volunteer or maybe the administrator who undertakes that role. And they would have to do a DofE training course online, which is free of charge, and they're supported by the operations officer. So an organisation would have to have one of those people in place. Now, the key person would be the DofE manager. So really, in terms of a grassroots organisation, it would be either a youth worker, a leader, or a volunteer who wants to take on that role. And that person is essentially responsible for making sure DofE runs, and there's a bit of a plan in place to get young people involved and deliver the award. But as you can see, a lot of the award actually in terms of its delivery, it kind of runs itself with young people doing activities and picking them. There's structures that you have to have in place, and the operations officer provides all the support for the DofE manager. The DofE manager essentially would have to undertake 2 training courses. And these are both online, short courses. One is the Introduction to DofE course, which is £30, and the other is Manager's Induction, which is free of charge. And we usually say there needs to be a contingency plan in place, which usually is an assistant manager. So if that DofE manager goes off, there's someone else there to support. And then optionally, you can have as many leaders, so whether other youth workers, volunteers that you need. So we work with organisations that are really small, and we work with organisations that are really big. So it really depends on what you need for that and how that can work, really. And then beyond that, you would need whatever you need for your expedition, whether you're doing that in-house. You may need some staff to run that and what that would look like, or if you're doing it externally, what that would look like as well if you're using an approved activity provider. So in terms of cost, what's involved? So we're going to talk a little bit about costs and some of those things that are there. So to give you an example, DofE is licensing organisation. So the organisation that runs the DofE essentially is responsible for its programme, including the health and safety. So everything would go under your own policy. So you don't have to go along with DofE policies, use your own policies and everything that you've got in place. So each organisation that holds its own licence. So to give you an example, if each school and college would hold its own licence, regardless whether they're in a multi-academy trust. So just to put that into context of a community-based organisation, if you're an organisation that has got multi-sites, you can have one licence as long as everything falls through one set of policies. All young people fall under those policies. They fall under that the same insurance, and they fall under the same liability. So all young people would have to go through that process. Otherwise, you'd need different licenses for different organisations. But obviously, if you're unsure about that, your operations officer will be able to support and guide you on that at any initial discussions if you wanted to become a licensed organisation. But giving you the school example, usually we'd license each individual school and college rather than the multi-academy trust. But I know lots of youth organisations are one organisation on multi-sites, which is absolutely fine in most cases. We'd have to look at it on a case-by-case example. And with, like I say, with youth organisations, sometimes it just gives us a bit more conversation to make sure everything works and it works for both parties. So DofE have an annual licence fee, and the licence fee provides you with the programme and operational officers support and all of the kind of key bits you need in terms of resources from the operations officer. So the licence fee is £1,100 plus VAT per year, and that's the standard fee. So the way that we differentiate between a small organisation working with 6 young people, for example, and a large organisation is through the participation enrolment fee, and that's the cost per young person. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about funding in a moment. So they're the core costs. And then there would be any expedition running costs, and that would be varied depending on if you're doing it in-house, and you can do it very cheaply in some circumstances, or if you're using an approved activity provider or somewhere, along the line. So lots of different options there, but they are the core costs to consider in terms of this. Now with DofE, we're really keen to work with all types of organisations. So from time to time, we do have funding that's available. So funding for participation places, adult training, expedition equipment, and your operations officer will work really closely with you on these. And we know sometimes certainly organisations that are working with young people that face barriers and challenges, it does open up more funding opportunities to us as well. But what we also do is work with a lot of organisations that community grassroots organisations that get DofE funded through different avenues and different funding opportunities. Sometimes there's external opportunities out there that you would know better than me potentially about how that could work. But we would work with you on anything that you're looking to do, give you any support on any applications or anything that you're trying to do to do any of those type of activities. We also do have a web page with external grants and opportunities to support organisations to set up, and we do appreciate organisations wanting to become a licensed organisation is a big decision and a big undertaking, and that's why we're giving you all of the details today, really, to see if this is something you consider now or into the future as well, alongside the other options there. In terms of policies and insurance, most organisations would potentially have these things in place, but to become a licensed organisation, you would need to have a safeguarding and child protection policy, health and safety policy, equal opportunities policy, insurance, and also an off-site visits policy. If you don't have these things for your current organisation now, you could potentially create them if you wanted to become that. But I would imagine most organisations would have at least some of these things in place as part of your current operating policies. But the reason we mention it is because DofE operates under your policies and insurance, so the stuff that you're doing to keep young people safe, essentially. So I'm really pleased today that we do have Steve Milford with us, who's going to just talk in just a moment a little bit about what they do in terms of their DofE and some of his experiences in the past. But I do just want to say, you know, we've got a range of organisations here, and there's probably lots of different things that you're trying to glean from today, whether that is becoming a licensed organisation, whether that is to offer a section, or maybe just be involved in DofE in some other way. Maybe you want to be a volunteer, and if that's the case, do just get in contact with us. Maybe there's another project that we can be involved in, or some of our other young people could be involved in. We'd love to. We really want to work and collaborate with you. But I do appreciate there may be some barriers and challenges for those that are looking to become licensed organisations. And what I would say is we really want to try and work with you. So do get in contact with us individually after today, and we'll try and work with you on individual challenges to really try and make the best of any situation for you and make this work. So I'm going to hand over to Steve. He's going to talk to you a little bit now about why their organisation does DofE, the benefits for their young people, and how it works. And as I've said earlier, Steve is just starting at Boxing Futures. They're on a journey to start offering DofE. But I know Steve has offered it in the past with open groups across Peterborough, and actually worked with some fantastic young people, and there's been some really positive stories. So I know Steve's got a great story to tell, really, in terms of DofE and how it works for community grassroots organisations. So thank you, Steve, and over to you.
You're welcome. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay. I've had to rush out of the office to Costa Coffee because my new employer has blocked us from being able to access our microphones, unfortunately. So I'm here now. Yeah, my experience with DofE started about 6 years ago when I helped form the Open Awards Centre in Peterborough. It was quite a journey. If I could go back with the knowledge I've got now, it would happen a lot differently. But I do commend you all for looking at DofE. I think it's one of the best programmes out there for young people, for seeing growth, and it's a great leveller as well on ability levels. So, for instance, I've had people on programmes where young people that have been bullied and the young person that was the bully have ended up on the same expedition team and have formed a friendship and put their differences apart, and you've seen that young person move forward in a massive way. So after 5 years of running DofE, I now work with Boxing Futures as their educational coordinator, and I was very keen to get DofE as part of their programmes. So as Jack says, we're quite new, we've got our licence, we're just in the process of building a brand new gym and also a learning zone in Peterborough, which our young people are involved in the planning process for that, which we will be classing as part of their volunteering. We've got the boxing side that, for me, is just a gift, really. The fact that we're already delivering that physical element is fantastic. And another charity that I'm involved with we're going to be running volunteering projects rather than individual volunteering opportunities. So our young people will get the choice. You can either go and find your own volunteering placement, or we've got this social action project which will take place over a 20-week period for this preschool charity, which you can come and get involved with. You take ownership, you start to plan it. We work with them to bring out their skills, so the project planning, working to deadlines, all that stuff that looks really good on the CV, people can't prove it's for real. We make sure that they draw that out through the Duke of Edinburgh Awards. One thing we're really proud of is we're targeting those that wouldn't normally be able to afford to access the award through traditional routes like schools or for the Scout Association. So looking at young people from lower socio-economic deprived areas, getting them involved in the award. I know definitely over the last 3 or 4 years, I've seen a real shift from the DofE charities point of view towards targeting those that are more difficult to engage with. I've been very impressed with the way that that shift has happened, and there's a big push on that. I just think it's the greatest award that there is for young people. I've worked with the Prince's Trust, National Citizen Service, the Duke of Edinburgh, and they're all fantastic. But it's the DofE for me that's the standout award from an employability point of view, from building confidence in young people, and dare I say it, from your charity's point of view, that £1,100 you pay plus VAT, treat it as an investment. If you go down this route, because you can say on those reports to funders that you supported X number of young people doing 300, 400, 5,000 hours community service within a year, and it becomes a vehicle for you to get additional funding moving forwards. So I think it's good for the young people, it's brilliant for the organisations. I'm so sorry I missed the introduction, so I'm not quite sure what organisations we've got on board here, but I can't speak highly enough of the Duke of Edinburgh Award. I think it's just fantastic. If you wanted to ask questions about setting it up, I'm quite happy to answer that. I know all the pitfalls about trying to find volunteers. That's probably one of the hardest things. And on that point, when we started the Open Awards Centre, we had 8 parents that said they would volunteer on a regular basis. That soon dwindled down to about 3. So I think you need to be aware of where you're going to recruit your volunteers from. Get in touch with the local council for voluntary services. Get adverts out there on Facebook. If I was going to do it again, I would be writing up job descriptions so that you might have someone who's not interested in expeditions but is a fantastic administrator. You could bring that person in to take the pressure off certain aspects of it. So I think it's about structuring how you want to deliver it and making life as easy for yourself as possible. I did put a note in there. I noticed someone mentioned about funding. When we first started, we approached our local parish council. Now, if they've de-evolved on a local level and gone through what they call the parishing process, that means that they take a few pounds each month from every household's council tax bill, and the parish council get to divide that up for community benefit. So if you're in a parishing area, that's how we got our tents and rucksacks initially to get us started. That's how we got our 10 participant places for those that couldn't afford to come on the programme and pay for it. So it's definitely worth looking at. You know, investigate what's going on locally. The money's out there to get set up, and I think after your first year you will really see the value of what it adds to your organisations. I don't know what else I can say really, other than I love DofE.
Brilliant, that's amazing. Thanks ever so much, Steve, and we really do appreciate your time. It's great to hear about your journey in terms of DofE and as well. And I know you've had so much experience over the years working with you personally as well. When I was an operations officer, it's great to see the successes over there, and I think it's fantastic. And thank you for offering to support people if they need it and have any questions and that. So thank you. Brilliant. So I'm going to hand over to Georgie now, who's the operations officer for Norfolk, just to talk a little bit about how operations officers can support if you're a licensed organisation, but also possibly support or what we can do if you're an organisation that has got an opportunity that we could share with our organisation. So over to you, Georgie.
Lovely, thanks, Jack. Yeah, so exactly, if I start with the volunteering aspect of it to begin with. So if I'm going to pick on the Library Information Service just because I'm very aware of the Summer Reading Challenge, because it is a fantastic opportunity for young people to get involved. That's exactly the kind of thing that I could support you with. I obviously have all of my schools that I work with currently who are looking for volunteering opportunities. So Jack mentioned before, we're developing a volunteering hub, but also I'm kind of your real life hub in Norfolk. Things tend to filter through me anyway, so feel free to contact me after this if it's the young people that you're looking for. If you don't have the capacity to necessarily license yourself and run the award, you're looking for the volunteer side of it, then again let me know, and I can always share things with my schools. And obviously it would be great to chat to Amelia about volunteers as well, because there's so much we can do together. And just thanks to Steve for just talking so kindly about the award. Again, like Jack, born and bred in Norfolk, grew up in a very small village just the other side of Thetford. I'm very aware of the challenges that our young people have, and the DofE for me personally was something that was offered when I was at school, and I was really lucky that I was able to do it because there wasn't many things going on, so I saw that and kind of collared it. And now obviously I love it because I'm working for them, but it really is that leveling, the mind, body and soul aspect of it. You're working with young people, encouraging them to do something physical, give back to their community and develop a skill. So realistically, there's probably a massive amount of things that you're already doing that me as an operations officer, I would just help you to turn that into the DofE award essentially. So that's my role, is I would work with you to get the award set up in your organisation, to help you develop the plan and the programme to make it work in a way that makes it accessible for your young people. And that's the real benefit of the DofE. It's the award fits around the young person. It's not the other way around. We don't expect the young people to change themselves to be able to do the award. The idea is it's their personal challenges and their strengths that they use to tailor the award for them and go outside their comfort zone a bit with things like, particularly, for example, the expedition side. There's an assumption for young people because they live in Norfolk, they're very comfortable in the outdoors, and we know that's not necessarily true. You know, if you're living in one of the towns or the cities, you might not have a clue about camping or walking or anything like that. So everyone's going to have a particular challenge. So essentially my role as the operations officer is to be your point of support with that, to help you develop the award, to look at the programme and how it can be shaped for the young people within your organisation. And I'll stop there. Oh, you're on mute still, Jack.
I knew I was going to do that somewhere along the line. Brilliant, thank you. Thanks so much for that, Georgie. That was fantastic to hear, and I think that's the key. Is actually we're in this with you together, and also as well we do want to have that presence across Norfolk in terms of DofE. So if there's other events and things that you're doing, you're running that we can be a part of, do just get in touch with Georgie or myself. You know, we really do want to be a part of what you're doing, and really a big focus of what we're looking at as well is just championing young people and putting young people at the heart of everything we do and how we move forward. And we really want to be a massive part of the community as well in terms of how stuff is developing. So thank you, Georgie and Steve. I'm going to just talk a little bit about what's involved if you do want to become a licensed organisation. I won't go into too much detail, but ultimately, if you did want to become a licensed organisation, you can contact Georgie or the relevant operations officer as many times as you like before you make a decision, and we can talk to you, we can meet with you. Once you've made a decision, if you did want to become a licensed organisation, The DofE manager would have to attend their training, and the operations officer would meet with the proposed licence signatories, the person who's the top of the organisation who signs the paperwork, essentially, agree a plan and a start date. So that would happen, and then once those bits have happened, the operations officer would do all the paperwork and start the licensing process. The licence is issued on DocuSign, which is an online system, and signed by all parties, and then it would be set up from an agreed point. And once that has happened, there's then the ongoing next step support, and all of the other bits would be put into place. But ultimately, we're usually sort of working on a sort of minimum of 3 months, really, to get you up and running. If you want to get up and running before, we can try and squeeze it in sometimes, but it does take a bit of time to get everything in place. So the more notice, the better, really. But I would just urge you, if you want any more questions, or you've got any particular barriers that you've come across today and you really want to do it, do speak to Georgie. We'll try and signpost you to the right place and see if we can help you in any way as well. So we're really keen to work with you.
Sorry,
So-
Jack, can I just interrupt very quickly? Because I've just obviously noticed it's Paul from Ascend Adventure. You might be looking at maybe the expedition delivery side of things. So if you would like to have a separate chat with me about that, I know we're talking a lot about volunteering, then just let me know and we can chat about the sort of, if you're hoping to just deliver the expedition side, then just let me know and we can have a chat before I forget.
Will do, Georgie. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Because again, there's another option, which is to become an expedition and food activity provider. So many choices, so many ways you can get involved, which is great. But yeah, if there's any next steps after today, the best person will be Georgie. She doesn't cover West Norfolk, but even if you contact us, not a problem, we can put you in touch with the right place. We do have Megan looking after some of the West Norfolk bits at the moment. But of course, myself as operations manager of the team, please, you can get in contact with me as well. So we're all here, but Georgie is your main point of contact for Norfolk, and Georgie will be able to support with anything you've got, really. So I think after today, just to recap, we obviously started with a bit of an overview of what the DofE is trying to achieve, and we're really keen to get involved with those grassroots community organisations and embedded within the community. And we've talked a little bit about what DofE is and how your organisation could get involved, whether that be through a particular section, or then we've then looked at you delivering the whole award by becoming a licensed organisation. And then for some organisations, it may be that you are an expedition AAP. But whatever you're considering, do just drop an email to Georgie after today, and we'll be able to pick up any other conversations and take things further forward. If you get a few months down the line and you change your mind, do just come back to us at any point. If there's opportunities that come up in the future, whether that's us being involved in some things that you're doing, do let us know, and we'll see where we can go with any of that. And obviously, if there's any opportunities come through. So I really do appreciate your time today. It's fantastic to have so many of you attend, and hopefully that's useful. We are now going to open up the floor to any questions or any comments from anyone that's here with us today, really. So, so I don't know if anyone's got any questions at all.
Hi, Jack.
Hello there, Mike.
Hello.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So I just want to so you can see who's speaking. Yeah. Jack, so is there any kind of database for young people where they can kind of put their postcode and see what different DofE is available in their area, especially if they don't particularly want to do it with their high school?
So at the moment, to be perfectly honest, across, so if we there is, we do have an opportunity finder, but if they're looking to become a licensed organisation, across Norfolk at the moment, the main places are just with their high school. So what we would be what we will do as part of moving forward, when we start to get more community-based organisations, we will have a central place where we put all of those details so people can see and they can access all of that. But at the moment, other than their high school, across Norfolk, we've got a lot of work to do to try and get other types of organisations and access for them to achieve that, essentially.
Well, the Scouts and the Guides run it, don't they?
So if they're a member of the Scouts and the Guides, they can do it through a national. So yeah, very good point. So they can do it through their schools, or they can do it through a national operating authority. So if there's other groups that they're already a part of, they can do it through a national operating authority, and that's all found on the. There is a place online, so I can send you the link afterwards, Mark. So you've got those details there. Cool.
Yeah, can I ask a question, please? Yeah, I just wondered, I know that there's a push now to work with a more marginalised cohort, but how has the programme, the specific DofE programme, been amended to accommodate that particular young person client base? Because it doesn't seem on the slides to be any different to the original, you know, DofE. Is there any leeway been put in? Is there any additional support offered to people who are going to be delivering or be partners, etc.?
Yeah, so I think so. One of the things will come as part of the 5-year strategy that the DofE has just launched. They are looking at there is a number of projects that are underway that they're looking at adapting things even further and considering what support is needed for community-based organisations. So there is some stuff that's underway that will happen. What I would also say in terms of the current programme, each of the sections, there is a number of flexibilities that can be adapted for individual needs. So I think, for example, if we pick the expedition section, there's a number of variations that can be put in place dependent on the young people that you're working with. And give you an example of, if we're working with an SEND school, for example, actually the activities can be embedded within the curriculum, and the way that they record the information on our EDOV system, there's a different system that they can use to make it accessible to those young people. So I think it really just depends on what those particular challenges and barriers are for those young people and that organisation. And that's really where the operations officer would have that conversation before we go ahead with any licensing, to see what those challenges are and how we can really try and make that unique for those experiences. But what I would say is there's still work to be done going forward to make the experience even more accessible and more attractive, I think, is the key, because I think at the moment there's lots of positive stuff there and there's lots of ways it can be varied. But I think what we need to do even more is make it more attractive, essentially. And I think going back to Mike's question earlier about sort of where they can access it, again, at the moment, what we really want to try and achieve is to have more diverse places where they can kind of access it. And at the moment it's through, you know, the schools is the main place in Norfolk, as well as the National Operating Authority. So St John's Ambulance is a National Operating Authority, Scouts. So young people that are attracted to that get that opportunity, but we want to try and make that even more diverse. But we need to then make sure we've got the tools there as well to make that a reality, really, Paul. Brilliant, thank you.